Was Windows the tech thing I was most conflicted about this year? Yeah, I think it was. Well, hello there. This episode of Some Gadget Guy is brought to you by viewers like you, all of the incredible people sharing content across social media, and the generosity of my patrons at patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. More info on those awesome nerds later in the video. Kicking this video off, drop a comment down below. What was your most conflicted tech feel of 2025? The thing you really liked, but you also had the most issues with. I think 2025 was an odd year all around for consumer electronics, and I started this script with a whole list of products and services that really twisted up my brain. But every time I rewrote this script, I still came back to one key product that spiked some highs for my excitement, then also left me feeling really conflicted. Windows. Microsoft. What are we doing with Windows? I want to start out with some good stuff. I really don't want to undersell this. 2025 was a huge year for optimizing and support. Now, I know a lot of people are gonna laugh at that, but I'm also a really big fan of little ARM chips. The SoCs, the processors that go in our phones and tablets, and this year saw huge improvements supporting Windows on ARM. Microsoft, again, they had a lead in the market and they fumbled it. And then Apple would go on to show us that ARM chips for laptops and desktops could be a serious contender against the chips from AMD and Intel. But in playing catch-up, Microsoft delivered some of the best polish and performance we've seen in the space in a long while. I think ARM has huge potential for consumer gadgets. The biggest gains we've seen to performance and battery life. It's making MacBooks better, it's making Chromebooks better, tablets are insanely powerful, phones are wild pocket computers, VR, AR, connected cars and accessories, and gaming. ARM has been a huge disruptor to every consumer experience we might discuss. I know Wendell and Steve always need to roll their eyes whenever ARM is mentioned, but it's silly to try and dismiss the impact these little chips have had on the consumer experience and how much better our future mobile gadgets might be with more support and optimization. So I need to give Windows a big kudos there, not just for how much I enjoy my Surface laptop, but all the improvements I've seen stepping back to older Windows on ARM machines with lower performance chips. It is exceedingly rare in the tech space that some software updates improve performance so much that it feels like I did a major processor upgrade. But that's what these older systems have gotten. I think we do a terrible job in the tech media following up on this kind of stuff. Now, we know a lot of it is big, dumb claims from manufacturers that turn out to be snake oil, but then we're apt to overlook when an update really does fix and improve stuff. I need to give the Windows team a thumbs up here. Really good work. Very well done. But now, all the other stuff, man. Microsoft. I worry your executives are a little too buffered from your employees and way too sheltered from consumers and regulators. I really need y'all in the C-suites to start reading the room here at ground level. We're pouring incredible amounts of money and energy into platforms and services and the AI to impress investors, but that investor excitement is waning. Whether or not we want to call a bubble, Microsoft is a monstrously big organization, and dedicating resources takes time, but then course correcting for a mistake takes even more time. You had a brilliant opportunity to advertise features on new laptops that would get consumers excited. Better performance with longer battery life. But what did you do? You put an AI button on your laptop keyboard and said, this computer's gonna screenshot everything you do on it. You're getting regular feedback about UI issues and ways to clean up Windows, but you're putting more ads into your UI, making context menus less useful, nagging folks to use Edge and Bing, which is so sad and thirsty, and hyping up Agentic this and Copilot that, where none of these things have really proven to move the needle on consumer purchasing behavior, which brings me to the Windows 10 debacle. Machines perfectly capable of running Windows 11 were denied upgrades. But now, your hardware partners and analysts are estimating that not only are there a 500 million Windows 10 machines running that you've denied upgrades, there could be an additional 500 million computers running on Windows 10, which are eligible for an upgrade to Windows 11, and the users said, nah, brah, not gonna do it. You've created one of the most impressive systems possible for support. You can run Windows on almost any kind of configuration, and there are updates that can be pushed directly to the user. That's insane. But you've also dug yourself into a hole on this one, and the perception of this update is souring a ton of consumers, which could create an incredible security nightmare moving forward. Not to mention these international relationships and the countries around the world switching from Microsoft platforms to Linux and open source software solutions, which rounds us out with gaming. I've been coming down a lot harder on companies that promote the idea that they are market leaders, but they don't lead the market until there's some whiff of danger of competition. Since the Windows XP days, nerds like me have been asking for better tools, better UI elements, things like running a full PC behind my TV. I don't want to have to use a mouse and keyboard for my TV PC. Microsoft has one of the worst track records for playing with a kind of product, then abandoning those efforts. You and Google, man, that graveyard of stuff that we nerds liked is absolutely ruthless. But then Valve comes along with the Steam Deck, and I can have a full-fledged Linux PC hooked up to my TV where I can control most of the entertainment stuff with a controller and only worry about a mouse and keyboard for the really techie stuff. That's been building a little momentum in the enthusiast space, and a lot of folks seem to be enjoying Linux gaming. So now, finally, if you're an Xbox insider, you can get access to a beta version of the full screen experience for Windows. But you have to know you're losing people, right? Folks that try alternatives, a lot of them aren't going to come back. This halting, start-stop thing you do really turns nerds off. Building up Windows Phone, then pulling the plug. Well, you could have kept a seat at the table for mobile, and now that Windows supports ARM chips better, new phones, tablets, and computers today would have benefited from the consistent market presence if you had stayed in the market during the Windows Phone days. Nope. You taught people never to invest in a new Microsoft platform. Ditto VR. I know mixed reality isn't super hot in the consumer space, but you tried to turn all of our headsets into e-waste, and now the market is finally starting to turn on daily wear glasses and basic AR experiences. You know, all the stuff AI glasses are doing. You could have had the top reputation in face computing, an established platform to introduce Copilot, but you threw all of that away years ago. It's impossible to come back and try to rebuild that fresh. You've already conditioned consumers not to trust you. And for all of these market corrections, it's just really clear you aren't listening to end users. I want better competition for consumer electronics. And I think this course you and a few other companies are on is grossly unsustainable. Looking at stocks and looking at market cap, maybe you do actually believe that you are a pillar, you are indomitable. IBM was IBM until they weren't anymore. Intel was Intel until they weren't anymore. Maybe look just a little further than the next fiscal quarter, because right now you're Microsoft, but it won't take much for you to not be that anymore. So that's where I'm putting a pin in this. Windows, my most conflicted tech thing of 2025. And I would love to hear from folks out there. Was there a bigger swing that I missed this year? What really messed you up in 2025? You cared about it, but it also really concerned you. I feel like we can use the comments down below. We can vent, clear out some of these feels, and hopefully start fresh for the new year. As always, thanks so much for watching, sharing these videos, subscribing to the channel, smashing bell icons, all of that stuff that helps with algorithms. But none of these videos would be possible without the support of my incredible patrons. All of the folks over on patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. This list of names scrolling by on your screen right now, a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart, as these are the folks that are directly contributing to helping keep the lights on here in the Gadget Lab. They're the coolest tech pals in the universe, so I hope you'll consider checking them out. I hope you'll consider joining the community at patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. Now, you know where you can find me around the rest of the internet, at SomeGadgetGuy, basically everywhere, but these days, trying to spend a bit more time on the Mastodons, a lot less so on the Facebooks, Instagrams, Threads, practically none at all on that dumpster fire site, and I will catch you all on the next video.